Hello team and welcome back to the channel. So before starting the video, I would request you, please subscribe to the channel. It takes a lot of hard work and effort to record such hands-on videos for you. Also, your subscription keeps me motivated to keep making videos. Okay. Recently, I received a lot of requests for one-to-one connect or like providing dedicated sessions. Okay. So for that only, I have my own website where I like provide dedicated course for 2 months. Okay. My site is devopsshack.com. So on this website, I have a course. Batch 2 of that course is going to start from 20th of October, 15 days from now. Okay. So basically in this course, I am covering DevSecOps from scratch as well as Cloud DevOps. In Cloud DevOps, we are focusing on Azure DevOps. Okay. So first of all, like everything we are going to cover from scratch. In addition to that, I'll be available anytime for you to call, so that if you are facing an issue, if you are having any doubt, you can just ping me anytime. You can call me anytime for 2 months. Okay. Also, like as you know, like when you are trying to transition or like switch your domain to DevOps, in interviews they mostly asked like corporate project experience. Okay. So in this course basically I'll be explaining you what kind of projects I have worked on, what was my role, how projects are getting built and how they are getting deployed, which I believe is going to help you a lot to go for interviews. Okay. Because if you know like how corporate projects are built and how they work basically, then it will be much easier for you to give interviews and qualify them. Okay. And yeah, I'm going to make sure that I like your resume is properly maintained. I'll guide you how to answer in interviews, how to explain projects, those things. Okay. So I believe if you complete this course, if you get enrolled in this course is definitely going to help you a lot in getting a job. Okay. But yeah, eventually it's your decision. You can check out the whole syllabus in the description. Also the course price, as you can see after discount, it is 6,000, and the amount of things that we are going to cover in this course, it's massive and it's going to be really helpful. So if you are really dedicated and if you are like just minded that I need to get into a DevOps job, okay, then definitely you should enroll into this course. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Coming back. So today, as we discussed previously, that today is day 3. Also, one more thing, guys. Yeah. So since you know, like we are running this Jenkins advanced course. So basically 3 videos I have uploaded as of now: day 0, day 1, day 2. Okay. And today is day 3. So if you are watching day 3, make sure that you have watched day 2 and day 1, because everything first of all I'm covering from scratch and all the videos are going to be interlinked. Okay. So if you are watching the future videos, make sure that you have watched the previous videos also. Then only you'll be able to understand everything clearly. Okay. Okay. Next thing that I would say, yeah. So yeah. Also, like you know, like my Telegram channel is available, which is open to many. So you can just join and send messages. Anyone can send messages in that, and that is really helpful because people who are facing issues, they need troubleshooting help. They just post there, and someone from the group will help you. Okay. Yeah. So coming to today's topic. So as we discussed today, we are going to understand what is master slave architecture, how exactly we can automate our pipeline jobs. Okay. And how we can set up webhooks. Okay. In addition to that, a few other topics I'll be covering today. Okay. Yeah. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay, team. So let's talk about master slave architecture. Okay. So yeah. So whatever I'm teaching you, basically it's everything I'm teaching from my own experience, from my corporate project experience, how things used to work there. Same thing I'm explaining to you. Okay. And same thing I'm going to do now. Okay. So talking about master slave architecture, what exactly is master slave architecture? Okay. So let's say like I have a Linux VM and I'm setting up a Jenkins server on that. Okay. So I installed Jenkins and Jenkins is up and running, right? And if you want to build our application, we can just like add everything, click on build now, and it will start getting built in Jenkins server only. Okay. So by default on the VM where you are like installing Jenkins, that VM or like that whole setup is known as Jenkins master. Okay. Or you can say Jenkins master server. Okay. And you can even build on that. But you know, the problem with that is that key, let's say my VM is having 8 GB of RAM. Okay. And certain amount of CPU. Okay. And like that VM is having this, and I have installed Jenkins and I'm building jobs on that. Okay. Now the problem that will happen, the process of building the application, so it will also require some resources like RAM and CPU. So that RAM and CPU will be taken from this VM itself. Okay. But in reality, in corporate, how basically it is supposed to work, that the VM on which your Jenkins is set up, that VM is supposed to support the Jenkins installation only, okay, Jenkins server, not the building of the application. That is not the best practice, okay. So to avoid that, what usually companies do or clients do, they say, okay, I have my own VM which is like having so much of RAM and resources. I want to connect that VM to my Jenkins master, okay, or basically to the server where Jenkins is installed, okay. And then the process of building and deployment of application that I want to perform on my own VM through Jenkins, okay. That means ki directly we are not building or running like a Jenkins application building process on Jenkins master. Instead, we'll be running it on a separate VM, okay. Let me explain you properly, okay. So let's say that I have two VMs, okay. One VM is Linux VM, which is having RAM of 32 GB. Yes, that much RAM machine exists, okay. So Linux machine is having 32 GB of RAM and certain amount of CPU, okay. Another VM is there which is having 64 GB of RAM and CPU, okay, and that is Windows type, okay. So let's say like client says, okay, since we are not going to use Jenkins master as part of best practice, so what we can do, I can connect this Linux VM to my Jenkins, okay, and use this Linux VM for building my applications, okay. So what they will do through some process, like there is proper node adding process in Jenkins, using which you can connect a VM to your Jenkins, okay. And now next time when you execute the builds or like run the Jenkins job, so those jobs will be running on this, okay. So whatever like RAM the job will be needing, it will be taken from this Linux VM instead of taking directly from Jenkins server, okay. Same thing, like let's say if we have requirement of like building a Windows based application, for example, like we have to build a .NET based application. So for that we might be needing Windows based like virtual machine, okay. So in that case client said, okay, I have that virtual machine also, and I can add it as a slave or as a like a slave on the Jenkins master. So in that way, what will happen, whatever applications you are building, you can choose, first of all you can choose on which VM it should be built, okay, and that will help you that like Jenkins resources like 8 GB of RAM and certain CPU, they won't be getting used for building the application. You know, the reason that we want to do that we don't want to build directly on Jenkins master, because if you are using it, let's say some very big application you are building, okay, and that application requires around 7 GB of memory RAM to get built, because it's a very big application, okay. And if you are already building it on Jenkins master, you know, like if you are building it here, it will take the RAM from 8 GB of the Jenkins itself, okay. If 8 GB RAM like 7 GB RAM is gone, only 1 GB is pending remains with Jenkins. The Jenkins will either slow down or hang, okay, and that will literally like cause a lot of problems for your application, also for Jenkins itself also, okay. So what we do, what we suggest, that instead of like building your application directly on Jenkins, we get a VM, we configure it or connect it with Jenkins, and then we build our application on these VMs. These VMs are having like 32 GB, and that will be more than enough for application to be getting built, okay. I hope you got the point. Now master slave, you are thinking what exactly is master slave. So this server where our Jenkins will be set up or installed, that is known as master, okay. And the VMs that we are going to add as a slave, they are known as simply Jenkins slave, okay, Jenkins slave. And purpose you got to you understood now, like what is the purpose of like having master and slave architecture. And this is exactly the architecture. There is no like rocket science in it. It's simply you take a VM, you configure it, like install Java or something, you connect it to Jenkins, and you build your applications on it, which I will be showing you in future sessions, okay. Not today, in maybe day 4 I'll be showing you how we do that, okay. But this is the master slave architecture in Jenkins, okay. Master is the VM or server where we configure Jenkins, and separate VM when we connect it to Jenkins and use it as a slave for building our applications on it, then that's VM will be known as Jenkins slave. And this whole setup is known as Jenkins slave master slave architecture, okay. I hope you got the point, okay. Now what I want to show you is how we can basically automate our jobs through webhooks, okay. Yeah, so let's get started with that. Okay team, so as discussed, today is day 3, and today what we are going to learn is webhooks, okay. So why exactly do we need webhooks and what exactly is webhook? Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, so let's say I have this repository where my source code exists and this is the Jenkins job. Okay, so what I want that whenever I update the source code or push any changes here, so it should automatically start the Jenkins job. Okay, that means ki as soon as I'm pushing any source code, automatically the Jenkins job should be started and quickly it will execute all the steps. That means testing the source code, building the application and checking if our new source code works fine or not. Okay, so how it is helpful, because in very like immediately your code can be tested if it is working fine or not. If you want, you can add the deployment stage also, so that will confirm okay, your code is working fine and it is ready to move to production environment, right? So main purpose of webhook is to, like, first of all save time, okay, as well as automate also Jenkins job. So every time you push any code, that code can be quickly tested. Okay, now question is how do we do that? Okay, so first thing, you can go to Jenkins job, okay, configure, scroll down and you might see this option inside build triggers, git hook trigger for git SCM polling. Okay, so we will select this, click on apply, and from Jenkins side this is the only settings that we need to do. Okay, also one more thing that you should know, when you are configuring this step, git checkout step through pipeline syntax, make sure let me show you, make sure that these two options are enabled, including polling and including changelog. Okay, make sure they are enabled. Okay, yeah, so from Jenkins side this much only we need to do, click on save and apply. This specific option is enabled now. Okay, now we will go to our secret Santa repository. Okay, here click on settings and on left side you can see the option webhooks. Okay, click webhook and here we need to basically configure the webhook so that whenever we are pushing any changes to our source code or repository, it will trigger the Jenkins job pipeline. Okay, so first we have payload URL, which will be the URL of Jenkins /github-webhook. Okay, so let me copy the Jenkins URL quickly, copy this, paste it here, /github-webhook. Okay, and a slash you can put. Okay, then we have content type. Okay, that we need to select application/JSON. Okay, then we have secret. So secret we don't need to put anything as of now. Okay, and next we have one of the most important option, which is like on what action you want to trigger the Jenkins job or trigger this webhook, which will trigger the Jenkins job. Okay, three options you see, just the push event, that means whenever you push any changes in your repository. Okay, second option, for any kind of task that you are doing on repository, it should trigger the webhook, which in turn will trigger the Jenkins job. Okay, send me everything means like if you are creating pull request, Jenkins job will be triggered. Okay, anything, any kind of task you are doing, it will trigger. Okay, last option we have individual events. So from here also you can select, for example, like if any new tag or branch is getting created, you can select the action and that will start the Jenkins job as soon as a new branch is created. Okay, and basically this option is useful when you are working with a multi-branch pipeline, because like if you are creating a new branch from some branch, okay, so that new branch can be quickly creating a new Jenkins job and which can test the source code existing in the new branch. Okay, another options are also available, commit comments and all. Okay, but most places this is the option that being used, the push event. Okay, click on webhook. Now we have configured the webhook, so first of all let us test it. That we can do by going to recent deliveries and you can see it says success. Still, in case you don't see here success, what you can do, you can check the response and also like you can click on redeliver, which will just like redeliver this payload and check if the connection between webhook and the Jenkins job is existing or not. And you can see here it shows redelivery and that is also success. Okay, now to test it properly, what we can do as of now, if let me save this, click on Santa, scroll down, total 4 number of builds we are having, right? So to test our Jenkins webhook, what we can do, we can go to repository and master branch, because same thing we have configured inside Jenkins job. Okay, now let's say I'm just going to this readme file and let us edit anything you want. Okay, basically I'm just trying to test the push event. Okay, because if I push anything, it will start the Jenkins job. Okay, So I will just put a space and commit this change, and quickly we will go to our Jenkins job, and you can see it started a build, okay, which is in quiet period, okay, and now the build has started. Okay, if I open the console log, let me open, and here you can see started by GitHub push by Jaswaladi 246. That means we pushed a change in our specific branch, master branch, which in turn triggered the Jenkins job, which is very useful, right? So this is how you configure webhook. Basically, you can configure webhook in GitLab also, right? Here we did for GitHub, but in GitLab also you can do the configuration, okay, which is very useful, because in some projects they are using what is that, like GitHub also, some are using GitHub, some are using GitLab. So in either of the tools you can do the same thing. Okay, now what I wanted to show you, like you understood the point of this what is that, webhook, right? So now what I wanted to show you is, like I explained today, master slave architecture, right? So let me show you, or let me explain you how we can add a separate VM to our Jenkins job and run our job or build our application on a separate VM. Okay, so let's do that. As of now, you can see the build is success. So let me show you how we can add a VM as an agent or slave. Okay team, so what I have done, I have just created a separate VM. Let me show you here. So as of now, there are two VMs. Okay, there is one VM, master VM, on which I have installed Jenkins. Okay, and second VM I have created, whose name I am giving as slave. Okay, so what I'm going to do basically is add this second VM as a Jenkins slave to my Jenkins server, or like you can say Jenkins master. And next, afterwards, we will be building our applications on this slave machine. Okay, so let's do that. So I have connected, and first thing that I ran is the sudo apt update. Okay, and as you know, the prerequisite for like Jenkins basically prerequisite for a VM to be connected as Jenkins slave is to, first of all, you need to have JDK installed. Okay, so what I'm going to do is run this command, sudo apt install maven-y. So basically this command, it is going to install JDK 11 as well as maven 3.6 also, because like with a single command I'm able to install maven and JDK, so I choose this command to run. Okay, so let me run it quickly. Okay, one more thing that I should tell you, that we are going to connect to Jenkins master through SSH. Okay, secure shell. So for that we'll be needing public key and private key. Okay, so that also we need to do. Okay, so let me show you how we can do that. Okay, meanwhile let it complete. 99% completed. Okay, this is our Jenkins master server. As of now, we have run all the builds on Jenkins master only. Okay, so all the builds that were running on that, so they use the resources, the same resources that Jenkins master is using to run its UI and backend. Okay, same resources like GB, RAM and CPU were being used by the Jenkins job also. But this time what we want to do is make sure that like we are going to build and build an application and run whatever test cases we have on a separate VM through Jenkins. Okay, so first of all, what I'm going to run is SSH. Okay, before that I will switch to sudo root user. Okay, sudo su, then I will run the command SSH -keygen. Okay, this will basically generate the public key and private key, which we can use for authentication. So I will click enter. Okay, now you can see the public key and private key, they are created inside this location /root/.ssh so and so. Okay, next thing what I want to do basically is create a directory. Okay, using command mkdir. Command name I want to put as Jenkins-slave. Okay, let's go inside same folder. Basically this folder we are going to make as like the default folder for keeping the workspace or the build files that we are going to build on Jenkins slave. Okay, so before anything, let me go to /root/.ssh. Okay, and we have 3 files, IDRSA, which is private key, and public key. Okay, so what we are going to do is use this private key and copy this inside our Jenkins master, inside credentials, and then we use that for connecting to it. Okay, let me show you how we can do. So go to dashboard, go to manage Jenkins, go to nodes, and click on new node. Let's provide a name as slave-1. Okay, this is how naming convention goes in corporate, but you can put any name. Okay, because we are having like multiple VMs added as slave, so usually we name like slave1, slave2, like that. Okay, click on create, and description we don't need to put. Executors, let me put as to remote root directory. Okay, so remote root directory I want to keep as cd slash home slash ubuntu slash this one. Okay, and let me copy this whole path, paste it here. Okay, label, so label, basically I want to provide a label same as the name, which will be slave1. So this label is going to be used for like defining that we want to build our application or we want to run commands on this specific agent. Okay, now I want to put this like, so whenever I want to make sure that the builds that are supposed to run on this VM, separate VM slave, they will run only when we define them, or like when we provide the information that you need to run on this VM. Okay, automatically nobody will run here. Okay, now launch method, so we need to have the launch method using launch agents via SSH. Okay, here what we need to provide, host. Okay, so host will be the IP address, public IP address, which we have here. Let me edit it and copy this IP address and paste it here. Okay, now it comes to credentials. So credential as of now we have not added, we will add it quickly. Okay, here credential kind will be SSH username with private key. So ID, let me provide the ID as slave-thread. Okay, description I don't want, maybe I'll just copy this, paste it here. Username I'll go with root, then it is asking for private key. Okay, so we can get the access to private key by going to location cd slash root slash dot ssh id. Okay, sorry, we need to run the cat command to view the private key. Okay, we can run cat will basically show the contents of this specific file. Okay, and this is the private key, so we will quickly copy the whole thing till here. Okay, once you copy this, just go here and paste it. Okay, passphrase we do not have anything, and yeah, let me just double check. So everything seems fine. Just click on add, and it is visible here. And yeah, here you need to select host key verifying strategy. I need to select non-verifying verification strategy. Okay, and this is yeah, fine. So let me save this, and we will go here. Okay, so some issue is there. Okay, and let me see, public key authentication failed. So some issue is there, authentication failed. So let us fix it quickly. Okay team, so what we are going to do is first of all view the public key. Okay, and we are going to paste the public key inside the authorized keys on the same VM. Okay, so I will copy this, clear the screen, then vi authorized key. We are going to edit authorized keys, and let us press I for insert mode, and let us go at the end of this authorized keys, and on the last line we will just paste the public key that we have copied. Okay, so this will make sure that we are authorized to access this VM through the private key and public key which we have generated. Okay, let me show you how it will work. So yeah, we are on the last line. Now here I have pasted the public key. Okay, now let me save this file. You typing wq. Okay, we have saved it. Okay, now going back to here on our this one. Okay, now let me click on bring this node back online. Let me refresh the page. Sorry, some issue is there. Let me just log in again quickly. Yeah, Password will be same and sign in. Now we will click on manage Jenkins nodes, which we have just configured, right? And yeah, so this is the node. And if I go to see the status, so let me click on bring this node back online, okay, and launch agent. And here if I scroll up, you can see authentication successful, okay. And since we have configured JDK 11 also, so it's, you can see here agent successfully connected and online, okay. Now to give you an overview again, let me tell you what exactly I just did, okay. So first of all, I just let me clear the screen, okay. So first of all, what you need to do is like become root, or you can even like do the same thing using any other user like Ubuntu, okay. But for me, since I need complete access, so I just go with root, okay. So here what I did, I ran the command ssh-keygen, which will generate the public key and private key and authorized keys, okay. And to make sure that we are able to access this VM using the private key, we need to make sure that public key is added inside the authorized keys, okay. Where do they exist? Let me show you that as well. /.ssh, okay. And here you can see authorized keys IDRSA, which is private key, and IDRSA.public, which is public key, okay. So to make sure that we are able to access this machine, I just copied this public key, content of this public key inside authorized keys content, okay. So yeah, once you have done that, then this access will work, okay. Same thing I have done here, okay. Now what I wanted to show you is how basically can we run commands on the VM now, okay. So let me show you that as well. Okay team, so basically now what we need to do is define in our pipeline that on which VM we want to build, okay. As of now, let me show you what are the solutions we have, okay. So in the build executor status, you can see there are two options. Built-in node, that means what if you want to build on directly on the Jenkins master, we can like by default it will build on this, okay. So if in case you want to build on separate VM, which is slave one, you can build on this, okay. How do we define like where exactly we need to build? So for that, let me show you. I will go here, okay. And okay, so here as of now you can see the option agent any, that means whichever agent or executor is free on which it will build, okay. But to make sure that we are building on our own personal slave, we can like define in this format, curly braces, inside it write label, okay. And to show you what exactly we need to put inside label, if I go to manage Jenkins, go to nodes, slave one, configure, okay. Here if you remember, the label is slave-1, right? So also like if you forgot that this is the remote root directory inside which whatever workspace we are like whatever commands we are running, it will be stored inside here, workspaces and everything, okay. So label is slave1. Same thing we need to mention inside single quotes. Let me put it here, single quotes, paste, okay. Now what will happen, whatever command we are going to run, it is going to run on this slave second VM, okay. And let me just check everything fine. Trivy command won't be running because we have not separately installed Trivy on it, okay. So let's see what happens, okay. Meanwhile, let me just click on apply and let me build it. And now here we can track the progress. Now, okay, one thing that you should notice now, here again it is installing the Sonar scanner tool. Why? Because the second VM we have not installed directly, right? So since we are building it on the second VM for the first time, so it will install whatever tool we have defined in our job. Second, you can see JDK 17 is also getting installed, okay. And finally Maven 3. So all these three tools which we have defined in our pipeline, they are going to be installed on the slave machine also, okay. So scroll down and yeah, you can see like Maven compile state like process has started, so and so, okay. And it is going to take some time, okay. You can see the build success for test, okay. Yeah, we have SonarQube commands running now. So here if you can notice clearly, like we did not install SonarQube, right? But since we have defined in our pipeline SonarQube scanner tool also, so it installed it by default, okay. And now you can see if I scroll down, Yeah, analysis successful. So this is good. And yeah, it is going to run this OS dependency check. And as I told, if you are doing this for the first time, so it will take a little bit of time to download the complete database. Okay, you can see it is installing since 2002. So once it completes, then I'll be back. Okay team, so like we were running the job for OS dependency check, and basically it failed. Okay, not the OS dependency check stage, but the stage where we were installing Docker. Okay, now let me tell you how did I fix it and what exactly was the issue. Okay, so for that, let me show you. First, go to manage Jenkins. Here, if you remember, we have configured Docker, right? Let me show you. This is the first Docker that we configured, right? Docker, and we were installing it directly from Docker website, docker.com. Okay, and it was working fine. But when we were using a separate VM as a slave, okay, so to run Docker commands on it, we need to make sure that Docker is installed on it, right? And when we use this Docker in our pipeline, for example, if let me open it and let me go to replay, scroll down to this one. Okay, so initially we were using Docker, okay, which was not able to which did not work actually on the second VM which we used as slave. Why it did not work? Because from the VM we are unable to download this from this website. Okay, for some reason, not sure why. Okay, so this did not work. And what was the error we got? Let me show you that as well. If I go to here, scroll down, okay, some issue was coming, okay, which let me just see if I can show you. Yeah, some no such file directory or something. It was proper issue coming. Okay, so instead, now what I decided, since to install Docker on a VM, we run this command, right? If you can see this, sudo apt install docker.io, right? And to make sure that we are able to execute Docker commands, we execute this command, right, to give 666 permission on docker.socket. Okay, so what I decided, instead of using the option install automatically for Docker, what I did, I wrote this shell commands directly. Okay, let me show you. I created a new name, docker-1, and these three commands I wrote to install Docker. Sudo apt update, sudo apt install docker.io, which is going to install latest version 24.0.6. okay, and last command to give permission. Okay, and here I just gave the home path for a tool. Wherever a tool is getting installed, it goes into /user. Okay, so just this path and applied it. Okay, and in our pipelines, what I did, let me show you that as well. So in our pipeline, basically, I just changed the name of the tool used to docker-1. And now, since we are already defined here that our job is going to run on slave 1, right? Slave machine. So to make sure that Docker commands are executed on it, we need to make sure Docker is installed. Two ways you could have done. Either you install manually, which is not a very good practice. So what I did, I went ahead and wrote the shell commands to install Docker. Okay, and those commands I configured inside a tool. When I call the tool, then by default it will install the Docker tool on the VM slave machine. Okay, these three commands will get executed, and inside /user it will install Docker. So this is automated basically. Okay, and last command that I wanted to run with same is to deploy the application. Okay, so once you have done this, it will work, and let me show you how it will work. Click on build now, and it will start. Just make sure clear words you should remember. If you are going to add a VM as an agent or slave machine to your Jenkins master, to install Docker on that, you should use these three commands. They are very easy and they works just fine. Okay, so I added, and now let me show you. Okay, also since we were using Trivy also, right, and Trivy installation through Jenkins directly is not possible. So again, similar way we can configure for a Trivy also. Okay, and we can provide the path and provide the commands to install. In case you are wondering what commands, here you can see these commands are added in my repository also. So these commands we are going to add in this tool, separate tool, and then we can call it. Okay, and you can see now it will be able to build the Docker image as well as push it to Docker Hub repository. If I scroll down, you can see it is building the Docker image, and now it is going to push it. Yeah, you can see, and after the image is pushed, it will deploy the application to our Docker container inside the VM. Okay, and interestingly, few interesting thing, let me show you as well. Okay, first time, okay, let it run, then I will show you. Now it is, yeah, Docker application is deployed. Now what I wanted to show you, this is our Jenkins master. Okay, and Jenkins is installed on this, but this time we added this VM as a Jenkins slave, and we are running whatever commands of building application, creating containers, everything we are doing on this machine. Okay, if I run ls command, you can see we have this folder. If I go inside it, ls, and you can see these are the files that got created. Okay, and if I go inside tools, let me show you, you can see these are the current tools that have been installed on the slave machine. You can see JDK installed, SonarQube, Maven, dependency check, and Docker. Okay, and our jobs workspace will be inside this tool, this side folder, workspace folder. Sorry about that. CDs. Sorry. Yes. So this is the project workspace inside which our job is running. Okay. Also, if I run Docker PS, you can see one container is running, and this container is running only on the slave machine. If I run here Docker PS, only SonarQube is running. Okay. Now what you get to understand now, we have built and deployed the application on a slave machine, which is just another VM we connected to Jenkins master. And this also refers to basically this what is that, Jenkins master slave architecture. Okay, we just added deployed like installed Jenkins on a separate VM, and slave on a, like, made another VM as a slave. Okay, so let me just access the application as well quickly using the slave IP address, and let me go here, and this will be, yes, and you can see our application is deployed successfully. Okay, so this is good. Do not forget, you need to use these commands for installation of Docker on the slave machine. Okay, so yeah, you can see dependency check also generating report, and everything works just fine. So this is good, and thanks for watching, and I hope this video helps you a lot. So have a nice day.